When we think of magic, we often pigeonhole magic into fiction, legends, and sleight of hand. However, there are some items that make us truly ponder whether magic is real. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 objects people have claimed to be magical. The Holy Lance or Spear of Destiny. On June 15th, 1090, the Holy Lance, also known as the Spear of Destiny, was discovered by the army of the First Crusade in Antioch. The Holy Lance refers to the spear that pierced the body of Jesus Christ when he was on the cross, and the tale of how it was uncovered has perpetuated questions as to whether it possesses magical or miraculous properties. In 1098, the First Crusade captured the city of Antioch when they were moving through Syria. This was met with retaliation, however, and the efforts were halted by opposing Turkish and Arab forces. As each team began to suffer in morale and watch their provisions diminish, the whispers of a discovery sparked a new excitement. Peter Bartholomew stood before the First Crusade and demanded to speak with the Count of Provence, also referred to as Count Raymond, one of the leaders of the crusade. He explained to Count Raymond and the Bishop of Le Puy that he had been subject to a vision of St. Andrew, in which he was shown the location of the Holy Lance, St. Peter's Cathedral in Antioch. As a peasant, known drinker and womanizer, his word was taken lightly, and even dismissed by Le Puy. Though with the losing battle in the crusade, what more could be lost? On June 15th, Peter, Count Raymond, and a handful of workers began to dig into the cathedral floor. Though with hours of work behind them and little visible success, a surrender was deemed to be near. Allegedly, Peter jumped into the workspace, a trench-like hole, and showed off a piece of iron that had been found. This was optimistically named the head of the lance itself before the swift uncovering of the remainder of the Holy Lance. Historians have been divided on this, with Sir Stephen Runciman, a historian specialising in the Crusades, claiming that it is useless now to judge what really happened, which sits in contrast to Raymond of Aguirre, who is generally regarded to be a reliable historical source, one of Count Raymond's chaplains, who recorded his own thoughts in which he claims to have seen the iron in the ground before Bartholomew announced its discovery. Many see this claim to eliminate the possibility that Peter had hidden a spearhead within his pocket to pull out when convenient. A question that has soon followed for many has been how Peter saved the dig. Did Peter have an unknown ability or a gift given by a higher power to have perceived this metal underneath the floor? The authenticity of the lance, however, was thrown into question, most notably in 1099. April 8th, 1099, Good Friday. Peter walked through a narrow passage with 2 piles of burning wood on either side, wearing only a tunic for protection and with the Holy Lance in hand. Whilst many assumed he would make it through unscathed, due to the Holy Lance being magical and miraculous rather than the opposite occurred, with Peter Bartholomew acquiring severe burns and passing away 2 days later. The Holy Lance holds a key role in many medieval legends, largely centred in Europe, and is often recited to appear alongside the Holy Grail in tales we tell today. Excalibur Sword. Throughout history, many tales have arisen of individuals who claimed to have found the real Excalibur, and whilst we all may have heard of the world's most iconic sword, presumably fewer of us are familiar with the real tales, and what could be the most magical artifact on Earth, should it truly exist. The sword was first introduced to the world in Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain, where it was known as Caliburnus. Excalibur then became ingrained in our history when it was brought forward by Sir Thomas Malory in Les Mortes d'Arthur, which was first published in 1485 CE, where Excalibur and King Arthur were paired together for the foreseeable future. This legendary artifact was then passed down through new editions, legends, retellings, rewrites, and adaptations, though many of the magical properties and rules vary drastically within each variation, many do remain the same. One consistent element is that Excalibur is from a different realm, world, or another variation of this, essentially meaning it was not crafted on Earth. While it is a key trait to the legend, this trope is not exclusive to Excalibur, as many famous swords follow similar unknown magical origin stories. Excalibur's power has developed its reputation as the best of swords. It is this power that prevents Arthur's defeat in many retellings. Now, Excalibur is a symbol of virtue and power. Another common rule to Excalibur has been that the sword's power aids not only in a win in confrontations, but that you also win the right to rule over Britain. Today, we often hear claims of Excalibur being found, with many people claiming to have pulled the sword from the stone. Despite their frequent combination, the Excalibur sword and the sword in the stone are two distinct legends. Others claim to have found Excalibur in bodies of water, apparently left there by the Lady of the Lake. In 2017, a young girl made this claim, and in 2019, a team of archaeologists allegedly found the sword at the bottom of the Vrabas River. With these endless claims of supposed discoveries, will we end up dismissing someone should they stumble across the true Excalibur? Ulfbert Viking Sword. A series of swords have sparked conversation amongst various scientists, historians, skeptics, and believers alike for years. The Ulfbert Viking swords have been traced back to the Vikings, but appear to have been made through modern techniques, making them thousands of years ahead of their time. Many say they are the swords made from technology of the future, as even today we are unsure how these steel swords were made by such ill-equipped societies. These swords were used in battle from 800 AD to 1100 AD. Despite this long period, they were a scarce sight, with very few warriors being believed to have used these swords. After 1100 AD, the Ulfbert are believed to have been largely untouched until they were uncovered in Europe an estimated 1,000 years after their initial creation. The Ulfbert swords have been dubbed such due to the inscription alongside the blade, though no one knows why this sword, term, or even possible acronym has been engraved on the sword. In medieval written texts, there is no evidence of Ulfbert being used, adding to the speculation. Some believe it is a name of a place, a potential city of origin, and some think it was simply a mark of authenticity and quality in older historical periods. The aim of an ironsmith was to produce a steel that would not bend or break, a steel that could be sharp but not delicate. This was evidently achieved in the making of the Ulfbert swords. More recently, scholars have researched the etymological root of Ulfbert, concluding that it is a Frankish name. Furthermore, the cross on the sword connotes a religious connection, more specifically to the Roman Catholic Church. This research is highly complementary, as the Church oversaw the Frankish Empire in the Middle Ages, so a strong connection being made between the Frankish roots of Ulfbert and the Roman Catholic cross is logical. Another key aspect to these swords you don't want to miss is the Greek cross appearing before the name. Typically, a placement of a cross before a name was reserved to indicate a bishop or abbot. This has led many researchers to suggest that Ulfbert is the name of either a bishop or abbot, and others have put forward the idea that Ulfbert could be the name of a monastery. So far, 44 Ulfbert swords have been examined and determined to be 100% steel, and only 170 swords have been proven to be Ulfbert at all. As with any object of such high status, copycats have occurred. Objects that bear a strikingly similar resemblance to these marvelous swords have ultimately been branded mimics. So where does the magic happen? The bizarre aspect to these battle swords is that they excel what we know to be possible for the time period in which they were created. How did Vikings create swords that were clearly so strong without the facilities to do so? The vast majority of swords we associate with the Viking period were characteristically low in carbon and full of impurities, aspects of the ore that weaken the metal. Throughout the medieval period, it was not physically possible to remove ore from the steel. The equipment we use today simply wasn't available. The process involved heating a metal to north of 3000 degrees in order to add carbon and remove impurities, though fires alone simply are not hot enough to do this. It is believed that the Vikings would attempt to hammer out impurities, though this simply wasn't effective. Yet the ulfbert steel is more similar to modern-day steel objects than those of the medieval period. When compared against 21st century steel and other medieval steel, the ulfbert swords showed a far purer product, with the carbon content reaching 3 times higher than anticipated. This indicates that ulfbert is, at a minimum, 1,000 years more advanced than it should be. Whether you wholeheartedly believe in magic or simply find these historical pieces curious, the strange backstories certainly do invite plenty of questions. But what do you make of these allegedly magical objects? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.